Hello, my name's Charlie Winston, and this is my podcast called As We Are, which is inspired by my most recent album, As I Am. It's discussions with people who interest me and inspire me. Some of those people you may know, but others you may never have heard of. But that's not the point, you see, because I'm simply interested in people, and I believe that everyone has an ever-evolving story to be told. And by shared experiences, we get to be inspired and understood, both as speaker and as listener. For the most part, I'll frame the questions and conversations around the themes I explored in the songs on my new album, but this is not to bring focus back to me. Rather, it's to dig a little deeper on topics and questions around who we are, the roles we play, and how we are experiencing this thing called life. The reason I've decided to create a podcast came from the conversation that I had with my record label's social media team. You see, to be present on social media becomes ever more important with every album that I make. In my early days as a solo artist, before signing any record deals, MySpace was a musician's interface with the public. Then, during my first and second album, Facebook crept in and took over as the way to reach people. But when commercials became too intrusive, during my third album, I was strongly encouraged to get active on Twitter. Then, by my fourth album, I was a latecomer to Instagram, but that appeared to be a lot of where my audience was spending time. For my fifth album, As I Am, released September of 2022, all the heads have turned towards TikTok. I hadn't paid a great deal of attention to it until I was coming to the end of recording my album, and the talks began with my label of how and where I should engage with you, the listener. So, as usual, with the changing landscape of social media, I opened up a TikTok account and tried it out, but this time something didn't feel right. Especially as far as my album was concerned, it just didn't seem to fit. And finally, I realised why. You see, with every new platform that comes along, there seems to be less tolerance for going beneath the surface of things. It's a lot of small bites, but no big meal. Don't get me wrong, I'm not taking away the pleasure or even the meaningfulness that any of these platforms can bring to people. But particularly in the last few years, I've been noticing a growing spiritual and emotional disenfranchisement in how content and information is presented to us, and even more how we consume it. Low attention spans seem to be the epidemic these days, with all the information that we have to process each day. It kind of feels like we're walking ourselves into this world where attention deficit disorder is the norm. When I'm looking at social media now, I'm always amused, sometimes surprised, and occasionally amazed at the ingenuity and imagination of people. But at the end of it all, I'm left with very little feeling or sense of satisfaction. It's a similar feeling I get to eating fast food. It's nice from time to time, but not every day. Upon sharing this with the team at my label, my project manager asked me, "Charlie, how do you like to use social media?" I said, well, these days I listen to a lot of books and, well, more recently, podcasts. There's actually a huge audience for this long-form way to present our interests and what we do. "Why do you enjoy them?" she asked. I don't know, because they really get beneath the surface of things, and to be honest, during the COVID era, it really rejuvenated my engagement online, and it gave me a lot of inspiration, especially as an artist. It's not like I want to keep talking about COVID since it's nearly over, but I will just say that I do see 2020 and 2021 as this incredibly unique period of time where the entire world had to switch off and turn down the volume and have a little look at their life. I took advantage of that opportunity while I wrote this album for myself, and it led to the majority of the songs on this record. And now that I'm sharing the album in that place of self-reflection, I kind of want to find out what other people's experience of it was as well. Has anything changed for them, and what is it that changed? After saying all this, my project manager said, "Perhaps you should create your own podcast." That immediately spoke to me as a great idea. So, voila, here it is. I just want to finish off by saying that I'm new to this, so I will be learning as I go. The idea is that you are a witness to a conversation rather than an interview. As someone who has been interviewed a lot, I can honestly say that usually the best interviews for me are more like conversations. It's true that many of my listeners are French, but it's not the whole apple. I know that a predominantly English talk-based medium won't appeal to the majority of those who just want to listen to my music and enjoy the happy-go-lucky world that I also like to inhabit. For that reason, the talks will be transcribed and subtitles added to the YouTube version. Hopefully, that will give more people a chance to understand the conversations. I'm sure that what I'm doing here may turn some people off, but I do hope that it might also have the opposite effect on others. As I said, I think the number of people interested in podcasts is growing, and fast. So, with that said, I would just like to welcome you, and if you got this far, to say thanks for listening, even if it is the only episode you hear. However, if you do want to listen to more episodes, then please subscribe to the podcast. This is now the end, and I'm waving goodbye to you, but if you'd still like to listen to my voice, then go and check out the album. It's called As I Am, and it's on all the streaming sites. That was my attempted Yorkshire accent inspired by Wallace and Gromit. Bye bye.